Daf Yomi, Tractate Chullin, page 19a, top of the page, with the words V'hilchata, V'shipui, Kova, B'lmata, Kshero, B'hainu, Tishaya, B'chite. The Gemara concludes, and the halacha is, if one slaughters from the incline of the thyroid cartilage and below, in the direction of the windpipe, the slaughter is valid, and that it is in accordance with the opinion that one who left part of the arytenoid cartilage has still performed a valid slaughter, as the arytenoid cartilage extends beyond this point. Rav Nachman Achshar Mishipui Kova Ulamata Umalei Rav Chanan Bal Rav Katina LeRav Nachman Keman Lo Kerabanan Velo Kerabi Yossi B'Rabi Yehuda. The Gemara relates that Rav Nachman deemed the slaughter valid in the case where one slaughtered from the incline of the thyroid cartilage and below. Rav Chanan bar Rav Katina said to Rav Nachman, in accordance with whose opinion is that ruling? It is neither in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis, nor in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Yehuda, who both hold that if one cuts the windpipe above the large upper ring, the cricoid cartilage, the slaughter is not valid. Amar lei, anala chilak yedana velo bilak yedana, ana shemata yedana de amar Rabbi Chia Abba, amar Rabbi Yochanan, ve'amri le amar Rabbi Abba bar Zavda, amar Rabbi Chanina, ve'amri la amar Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi, amar Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, mishipui kova ulimata keshero. Rav Nachman said to him, neither do I know chilik, nor do I know bilik. I guess it's kind of like a joking kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of a answer. Meaning, I know the reason neither for this one's opinion nor that one's opinion. I know the halachet, and Rabbi Chia bar Abba says that Rabbi Yochanan says, and some say that Rabbi Abba bar Zavda says that Rabbi Chanina says, and some say that Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi says that Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, from the incline of the thyroid cartilage and below, the slaughter is valid. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, the Gemara returns to analyzing the Braita 18b. In a case where the knife is diverted from the place of slaughter above the ring, the slaughter is not valid. Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus testified about a case where the knife is diverted from the place of slaughter above the ring, that the slaughter is valid. And Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, with regard to a case where the knife was diverted, according to the opinion of the rabbis, cited in the Mishnah, the slaughter is valid according to the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Yehuda, who ruled that the slaughter is valid when the majority of the windpipe was cut within the large upper ring. And with regard to a case where the knife was diverted according to the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Yehuda, it is valid according to the opinion of Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus, who ruled that even if a majority of the windpipe was cut outside the large upper ring, the slaughter is valid. Pshita, ma'u detema, Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus, ad Rabbanan kai kamash belan. The Gemara objects that it is obvious. The Gemara explains, lest you say that the statement of Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus, who ruled that in a case where the knife is diverted from the place of slaughter above the ring, it is valid, addresses the statement of the rabbis. And he agrees with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Yehuda, that the slaughter is not valid when the majority of the windpipe was cut above the large upper ring. Therefore, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi teaches us that this is not the case. The Gemara objects and say that indeed it is so, that Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus agrees with Yossi, the son of Yehuda. The Gemara responds, if so, the formulation of the Braita should have been, Rabbi Chanina ben Antignus testified about it, since the opinion of Rabbi Chanina ben Antignus was introduced merely with the term testified. Apparently, he disagrees with all the other opinions. The Gemara concludes, and the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Chanina ben Antignus, as Rabbi Nachman holds in accordance with his opinion. Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Asi, machloikes. B'shishochat shnei shlish, v'grim shlish. D'Rabbanan savri, kula shchita b'einan b'tabat gedola. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Savaru Bakekola. The Mishnah cited a dispute between the rabbis who hold that in a case where one slaughtered within the large upper ring and did not leave a thread breadth over the entire surface of the ring, the slaughter is not valid. And Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Yehuda, who hold that even if one left a thread breadth over a majority of the surface of the ring, the slaughter is valid. Apropos to that, Rav Huna said that Rav Asi says the dispute is only in the case where one cut 2/3 of the windpipe within the ring and then diverted the knife upward toward the head of the animal and cut the remaining 1/3. As the rabbis hold that we require the entire slaughter to be performed within the large ring. And Rabbi Yossi, son of Yehuda, holds the halacha that the majority is like that of its entirety. Aval higrim shlish, v'shochat shnei shlish, divrei hakoil pesulo, techina v'chiyuta ben ruba b'shchita v'leka. But if one diverted the knife upward toward the head of the animal and cut 1/3 of the windpipe, and then cut 2/3 within the ring, everyone agrees that the slaughter is not valid. As when the life left the animal, meaning when the majority of the windpipe was cut, we require that the entire majority be cut by means of slaughter, and that is not so in this case. Amar le Rav Chizda, adraba limamaricha mechloikes, keshirim shlish, v'shochat shnei shlish, te Rabbi Yossi b'Rabbi Yehuda savar midi dehavi achatzi kone pagum. Rav Chizda said to Rav Huna, on the contrary, that the master said the opposite. Dispute is only in the case when one diverted the knife upward toward the head of the animal, cut 1/3 of the windpipe, and then cut 2/3 within the ring. And as Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Yehuda, holds that the slaughter is valid, just as it is in the case where the half of the windpipe is deficient. In that case, once the slaughter cuts any additional part of the windpipe, the slaughter is valid because the cut that rendered a majority of the windpipe slaughtered was performed properly. So too in this case, since the cut of the second third was performed properly, the slaughter is valid. And the rabbis hold that there, in the case of the deficient windpipe, the deficiency was in the place of proper slaughter, and therefore most of the life of the animal left in the proper place. Here, the first third was cut while the knife was diverted, and therefore most of the life of the animal did not leave in the place of the proper slaughter. Aval shachat shnei shlish, v'higrim shlish d'rekos k'shecho. But in the case where one cuts 2/3 of the windpipe within the ring and then diverted the knife and cut the remaining 1/3, everyone agrees that the slaughter is valid. As didn't we learn in a Mishnah 27a, the halachic status of the slaughter of the majority of one siman, the windpipe or the gullet, is like that of the slaughter of the entire siman itself. Amar le Rabbi Yosef, mane malan de'ahuru ba de'hasum la Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda ketani la dilman. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda ketani la. Rabbi Yosef said to Rav Chizda, who will say to us that with regard to the Mishnah there concerning the majority of one seaman, and Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Yehuda, did not teach it. Perhaps Rabbi Yossi, the son of Yehuda, taught it, and the rabbis disagree. Amar le Abaye to kol rubei de alma Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda ketani lo. Amar le ana ruba dishchita kamina nesham Elohu ribriki. Abaye says Rabbi Yosef, is that to say that with regard to all principles, that address majorities in general. Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Yehuda, taught them. Rabbi Yossi said to him, I am speaking of the principle of the majority with regard to slaughter, as we heard, and the rabbis didn't agree with him. Some say that there is an alternative version of this discussion. Rav Huna said that Ravasi says the dispute is only in a case where one diverted the knife upward toward the head of the animal, cut 1/3 of the windpipe, and then cut 2/3 within the ring, as Rabbi Yossi son of Yehuda holds. And the slaughter is valid just as in the case where half of the windpipe is division. The rabbis hold that there in the case of the efficient windpipe division, even the place of the proper slaughter. But here, most of the life of the animal did not leave the place of the proper slaughter. But in the case where one cut 2/3 of the windpipe within the ring and then diverted the knife and cut the remaining 1/3, everyone agrees that the slaughter is valid, as didn't we learn in the Mishnah 27a, along the status of the slaughter of the majority of one seaman. The windpipe of the gullet is like that of the slaughter of the entire semen itself. Maskeflat of Chizda man lema lan. Maskeflat of Chizda man lema lan lehu. Uruba Yosman Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Ketanilab. Dear Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Ketanilab, Rabbi Yossi, Amale Rabbi Yosef. To call Robin but Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Ketanilahu. Amarle anaruba dishchita ka'amina dishamalehu dipligi. Rabbi Chizda objects to this. Who will say to us that with regard to the Mishnah there concerning the majority of one simon, Rabbi Yossi the son of Yehuda did not teach it. Perhaps Rabbi Yossi the son of Yehuda taught it, and the rabbis disagree. Rabbi Yosef said to Rabbi Chizda, is that to say that with regard to all principles that address majorities as well, Rabbi Yossi, son of Yehuda, taught them? Rabbi Chizda said to him, I am speaking of the principle of majority with regard to slaughter, as we heard that the rabbis disagree with him. Rabbi Huna amarav kshera, Rabbi Huda amarav treifa. If one amarav kshera kinafka chayuta b'shchita kanafka, Rabbi Yehuda amarav treifa ve'enan ruba d'shchita v'leka. If one diverted the knife and cut 1/3 of the windpipe, and then cut 1/3 properly, and then diverted it and cut the final 1/3, Rav Huna says, the Rav says, the slaughter is valid. Rav Yehuda says, the Rav says, the animal is not valid, it's a treifa, meaning forbidden. Rav Huna says, the Rav says, the slaughter is valid as when the life left the animal, it was in the course of a valid slaughter that it left. Rabbi Yehuda says, the Rambam says the animal is a treifa, as we require a majority of the windpipe to be cut with valid slaughter, and that is not the case. Shachat shlish, higrim shlish, v'shachat shlish, Rabbi Yehuda amarav, kshera asu shaylu Rav Huna, amalu treifa, shema Rabbi Yehuda ikpad, amar treifna machshir, or machshar in brackets, machsherna, or machsherna in brackets, treif. Rav Huna shapir kom mikpad kadai hushmile mine de Rav v'yana lo shemina li v'yode ikaru ba b'shchita amar le Rav Chizda lo teder bach. Okay, if one cut 1/3 of the windpipe properly, and then diverted the knife and cut 1/3, and then cut the final 1/3 of the windpipe properly, Rabbi Yehuda says that Rav says the slaughter is valid. When the sages came and asked Rav Huna, he said to them, it is a treifa. Rabbi Yehuda heard the ruling of Rav Huna and he was angry. He said, I deem it a treifa, and he deems the slaughter valid, and I deem the slaughter valid, he deems it a treifa. Rav Huna said it is proper that he was angry. One reason is that he heard from Rav, and I did not hear from Rav. And furthermore, isn't there a majority of the semen that was cut with valid slaughter? Rabbi Chizda said, Rav Huna, do not retract your statement. And we will continue on the next Amud. Alright?